Thank you. Now, the chief.
Good evening, Supervisor, Town Council members. I'm here tonight to present to the Town Board and community members the Town of Fishkill Police Department's State of Department Report. In 2020, we recognize the need to assess and improve our policies and procedures to ensure transparent, safe, and accountable service to residents of the Town of Fishkill. In March of 2021, we began the process of revising our General Orders Manual. 1 month later, the Governor signed into law the Professional Policing Act of 2021, the purpose of which is to strengthen the state's oversight of municipal police agencies with the goal of ensuring that individuals employed as police officers across the state are qualified physically and psychologically to fit and serve and protect their communities. This is achieved through state requirements which agencies must now comply with by following 2 new law enforcement agency accreditation programs, standards affecting hiring procedure, background investigations, and reporting requirements. January of 2023, the Police Department assigned an accreditation manager and began implementing the accreditation program to meet required standards. An assistant to the program manager will be selected in the coming weeks. Their job will be to assist in compiling documentation to demonstrate compliance with standards established by the accreditation program. We will be consulting with staff from the Division of Criminal Justice Services to provide support throughout the process. Just bear with me, please. We're experiencing technical difficulties. It doesn't seem to want to load on this computer properly.
I hate when that happens.
All right. The department organizational chart shows the ranking structure and the 3 divisions within the agency: Administrative, Patrol Services, and Special Services. The Administrative Division provides support to the line functions of the department, oversees the purchase and implementation of equipment, supervision of non-sworn personnel, and training. The Patrol Division is the largest and most visible detail of the Police Department and is responsible for all general police services throughout the town. The Special Services Division oversees unique resources, including the Detective Bureau, which is the investigative arm of the PD, the Community Policing Unit, Animal Control, and additional community engagement resources. To give a brief history of the staffing of the department, in 2007, an administrative study of the Town of Fishkill Police Department was conducted by the Division of Criminal Justice Services. The purpose of the study was to provide assistance necessary to aid administrators in combining new ideas, concepts, and methods with a professional and objective analysis of local realities. The study focused on immediate needs and incorporated both historical data and emerging trends, giving decision makers an impartial look at the police department from the perspective of an outside agency. At the time, the police department was staffed by 1 police chief, 1 captain, 1 patrol lieutenant, 1 detective lieutenant, 8 patrol sergeants, 1 detective sergeant, 1 community policing sergeant, 7 detectives, and 22 uniformed police officers, all of which were sworn part-time personnel. "16 years later, staffing levels reflect an increase in manpower necessary to meet the needs of the community and uphold the contractual agreement between the town and the police union. The police department provides full-time service, 24/7, 365 days a year, manned by part-time employees, all of which are sworn officers, either current or retired officers from other departments. Today, the department is staffed by 1 police chief, 3 lieutenants, 7 patrol sergeants, 1 administrative sergeant, 1 detective sergeant, 5 detectives, 24 police officers, and 2 community policing officers. We are down 2 patrol sergeants and 3 detectives. The selection process is underway to fill those vacancies. Our patrol division runs optimally at 25 to 26 uniformed positions. This allows us to staff every tour at minimum manpower, taking into account extra hours worked on investigations, report writing, emergency operations such as storm coverage, and mandatory training while staying within the civil service annual hourly limitations and the state's earnings limit. Our patrol division is currently down to 24 officers and will experience additional shortages as we reorganize to fill promotional vacancies and special assignments, such as the new traffic officer position added to the 2023 budget, designed to address the increased volume of traffic complaints we've received and focus on making roadways safer throughout the town. 2 additional positions have also been included in the 2023 department roster: a school security officer who will protect students, teachers, staff, and visitors from harm and ensure their safety. The assigned officer will address suspicious activities and interact with students. In addition, there's a third position, which will be a drug task force officer who will be assigned to the Dutchess County Drug Task Force at 100% reimbursement of his salary through the county.
And did you say I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
The officer at the school system is going to be paid for by the school system?
That'll be 100% reimbursed through the Wappinger Central School District. Here you see the 2007 non-sworn personnel staffing levels compared to today. In 2007, the department was staffed with 4 full-time police assistants, 1 serving as the supervisor for the dispatching section. The department had 18 part-time police assistants, dispatchers, and 1 animal control officer. Today, our non-sworn personnel consists of 3 full-time police assistant positions, 1 of which is vacant while we wait for the results of the civil service exam to be published, expected in the next few months. 12 part-time police assistant positions exist, 4 of which are currently vacant. 4 replacement applicants have been identified, interviews and employment background processing to begin in the coming weeks. Listed before you are the department calls for service, specifically reports we consider public safety concerns. Orders of protection and calls related to mental health increased in 21 and 22. Research indicates a major explanation for the increase is the unprecedented stress caused by social isolation and symptoms experienced from the COVID-19 pandemic. Public safety numbers are up due to the addition of an officer to the community policing unit conducting foot patrols in the business district, and patrol officers providing increased school security. Overall, there are no real spikes that would cause concern. This pie chart shows calls for service by priority. First priority calls make up 6% of overall calls. These include any call related to the physical safety of a person, such as a robbery, assault, harassment, disputes. The second priority makes up another 6% and includes property crimes such as burglaries, criminal mischief, vandalism, financial scams, theft of service, and theft of motor vehicles. The third priority calls are related to general public safety and are not always criminal in nature. They include suspicious person calls, auto accidents, drug offenses, and prostitution, making up 30% of all calls. Fourth priority refer to those related to community service, such as medical emergencies, civil complaints, which make up 49% of our calls for service. Total number of auto accidents increased in 2022, mainly in the area of property damage auto accidents. The department investigated 3 fatal accidents in 2022, 2 motor vehicle versus pedestrian, and 1 solo motorcycle accident, none of which were identified as criminal in nature. UTTs are down, but are not an accurate reflection of car stops conducted by our officers. Of course, they have the ability to use their discretion when stopping motorists for traffic violations, and many times warnings are issued in lieu of a traffic summons. Parking summons experienced a decrease in 2021 due to MTA and Park Police assuming enforcement authority of parking violations on Route 9D at Breakneck Ridge. In 2021, the PD implemented a domestic violence unit to administer the lethality assessment program, improve relationships with domestic violence partners, conduct follow-ups with domestic violence victims, and ensure they are connected to all the resources and services available to them. Domestic violence follow-ups increased by 59% with implementation of the domestic violence unit. The updated PD website provides a link to domestic violence services in Dutchess County.
Chief?
Yeah.
Can we just, so we formed this domestic incident unit in what year?
That was formed in 2021.
All right. And we have no quotas for traffic stops, correct?
We do not.
That's good. Can we go back to this circle where the calls were? So I have one follow-up question on
Sure.
that. Pie chart. Okay. Let's say there was no Town of Fishkill Police Department, and they were still patrolled in 1965 in this scenario. A vast majority of these calls would not even be handled. Would that be a correct statement?
I think that's fair to say.
So they would prioritize one and maybe two, and the other stuff would just get blown off.
Correct. Those calls for service just, they wouldn't have the manpower to cover the community service type of calls that we engage in.
Community policing, okay. So a solid 15, 12% is high priority for us, and the rest is quality of life, you would say?
Correct.
And without a town police department, that big number would not be satisfactory.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that 88% of the calls for service or the service that the PD provides would not exist.
Would not exist. So if somebody from Fishkill, if the state police or the sheriffs would visit, they would not cover this 49% or possibly 37%. They just wouldn't get to it.
I think that's accurate.
Thank you.
A joint prostitution operation with the New York State Police is the only factor contributing to the rise in prostitution offenses in 2022. Overall crime in town is down, but as you can see, those numbers fluctuate year to year. Since 2007, we have experienced a 30% increase in calls for service, a 45% increase in case investigations, and a 35% increase in arrests. Assaults are down, burglaries are slightly up, criminal mischief and criminal contempt are both down, drug offenses are down from 2021 but up from 2020, and harassment is up slightly. Looking at this chart, let's see. Let's see. Looking at this chart, you can see charges for lesser included offenses are listed in parentheses. Similar to case investigations, the reduction in the number of total arrests is reflected by the decrease in reported larcenies. So what I mean when I say lesser included offenses identified in the parentheses is, so you may have a burglary, and during the course of that burglary, they may have been an assault, but that won't be listed under the assault charges because it's a lesser included offense. So even though it occurred, that number isn't clearly represented unless you look at the number within the parentheses. So you can see offenses that are charged, not just the main call type for that specific department response. Larcenies are down, which are all complaint-based arrests. Mental hygiene arrests have increased, while most other classifications have stayed about the same. Some of our job is executing bench warrants and warrants of arrest. Those numbers are up in 2022 compared to previous years. adopted cases. It's common for uniformed officers to complete investigations related to misdemeanor cases such as assaults, larcenies, and criminal mischief. Cases requiring extensive investigation or involving felonies are referred to the Detective Bureau. In addition to conducting criminal investigations, detectives are also assigned pre-employment background investigations, and each detective is tasked with extra duty assignments such as due diligence and execution of warrants, monitoring sex offenders, evidence and property management, youth services, collecting and developing intelligence. Noteworthy cases. Going over noteworthy cases, in October of 2020, a TFPD officer came to the aid of an elderly gentleman who had traveled from his home in Rhode Island to attend the funeral of a fellow veteran. The gentleman discovered he had underestimated the cost of staying in a local hotel, so he came to our police department and requested if he could sleep in his car in the parking lot, as he did not feel safe anywhere else. Upon hearing the gentleman's story, a TFPD police officer made arrangements with the hotel manager for a reduced rate and paid for the gentleman's hotel stay with his own money. Town of Fishkill police officers were dispatched by Dutchess County 911 for a report of a male struck by a train at the Hartsook platform in Dutchess Junction. Officers arrived and located the subject approximately 100 feet west of Route 9D, lying alongside the railroad tracks. They quickly determined the man had in fact been struck by a train and was seriously injured. Upon assessing the man's condition, it was determined he was bleeding profusely from a leg amputation just below the knee. Officers quickly applied a tourniquet and direct pressure, then assisted EMS in getting the patient boarded and off the railroad tracks to an ambulance awaiting transfer to Stat Flight to Westchester County Medical Center. The officers' immediate actions surely contributed to saving the man's life.
Both are commendable. We were able to create the Drug Task Force officer and
Right, speaking of Mike.
excuse me, we were able to create that Drug Task Force officer, Chief, when we put together the drug presentation that we have here that John and I worked on, and we discovered at that time that was that availability, which was it's really kind of an achievement for this force to have an officer on the Drug Task Force. Wouldn't you, do you have any comment on that?
I think it shows the improvement in the department, and not just professionally, but our relationship with agencies within the county, to be recognized, to have risen to a level where the county has finally, after all these years, felt that we were in a position to be included and invited us to the task force. I think that's a huge credit to the police department and the town that we've reached that highest standard, that we got recognized by the county.
It says a lot about the professionalism of our officers.
Some additional noteworthy cases. December of '21, officers responded to a 911 report of a dog attacking a 14-year-old girl in the woods near Gearing Park. The first officer on scene ran into the woods and found the dog viciously attacking two females. Without concern for his own safety, the officer wrestled the dog off the two victims and pinned him to the ground until backup could arrive. If not for the bravery and quick actions of this officer, the two female victims may not have survived the attack. In December of 2021, patrol officers and detectives investigated a hit-and-run motor vehicle accident of an elderly victim standing alongside Route 52. The case was particularly challenging because the victim was adamant she was not struck by a vehicle. However, her injuries, which included bruises, abrasions, and 3 pelvic fractures, were not consistent with her statement. The only evidence of the crash were pieces of a vehicle headlight cover found at the scene. A thorough investigation was conducted, including a lone witness interviewed who was able to give a partial description of the vehicle. Through sheer determination, investigators were able to develop the identity of the driver, and an arrest was made.
That officer that wrestled with the dog, I remember him being here, and we all shook his hand, and quite a brave young guy. Very brave.
That was an incredible feat of bravery.
Yeah.
April of 2022, TFPD officers and the New York State Police conducted a joint operation targeting prostitution and other illegal activity at a local hotel. As a result of the enforcement efforts, 5 people were arrested for prostitution, including multiple charges for criminal possession of a controlled substance. As part of the initiative, arrestees were interviewed to evaluate their safety, potential victimization, and human trafficking, and provided resources to improve their situation. November of '22, officers investigated a report of vehicle break-ins. With assistance from the victim property owner, the stolen goods were tracked to a pawn shop in Fishkill. Further investigation led officers to identify the suspect and locate the remaining stolen property which was returned to the victim. This was one of several cases that was related and solved because of this, the officer's actions in this case. Let's see, moving on to equipment. Some updates in traffic equipment were necessary to maintain investigative and enforcement initiatives. For the last few years, the request for the deployment of speed signs has increased. To keep up with the demand, we evaluated our current equipment and decided updates were necessary. In 2021, one of our older speed trailers became unserviceable due to age and unavailability of replacement parts. Last year, we purchased a new speed messaging sign and trailer to replace the old unit. We also purchased 2 smaller speed signs. We deploy this equipment to slow motorists in areas identified as problematic and in need of focused enforcement efforts. The new equipment allows us to not only provide feedback to drivers, but has the capability of conducting speed and volume surveys that aid in identifying where and when speed violations occur. ALPRs, automated license plate readers, are used by patrol personnel to identify stolen and criminally used vehicles. A new LPR was deployed as a replacement for an outdated device that was taken out of service due to lack of available replacement parts. Emergency equipment.
Chief, we added another license plate reader. How many do we have, and how many we added in the last 2 years?
We had 2 previously. One went out of service because it was no longer operated properly, so we replaced that one. So we currently have 2.
So we're still at 2.
We have 2, but we encumbered funds from 2022 to 2023, so we'll be able to add 1 more to the fleet.
3.
3.
Thank you.
In 2020, we began assessing equipment needs throughout the department. One area we recognized that needed attention was the level of equipment available for our first responders. We determined that emergency equipment supplied in our patrol fleet was insufficient to provide responding officers the tools needed to handle critical incidents. To remedy the problem, we surveyed our patrol officers and command staff to identify essential items. All of our marked patrol vehicles now carry Halligan tools for emergency entries and vehicle extrication, fire extinguishers, medical kits, throw ropes, ballistic vests, and helmets in the event of an active shooter.
We assist with active shooter training during the summer. John and I visited Fishkill Elementary when you were doing that with the rec center staff for the summer program.
Okay.
And that was well done.
Yeah, that's one component of the training that the community policing unit provides. They also do fraud ID scams, active shooter, and some other safety training for, not just for the seniors, but for the residents in general. Computer systems, we're in the process of replacing the department main computer server. It's approximately 12 years old and is no longer able to properly run our records management system. We're experiencing slowdowns, crashes, and loss of data. Our IT company is working to migrate records from our current server to the new computer system, which was purchased in 2022. Security ID system controls both the police department and the town hall, is being replaced as part of a cooperative initiative with the building and grounds department. Our current system is beyond repair and in need of replacement. That's moving along pretty smoothly. We should have the first stages of that implemented in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Repurposed computers. We took mobile computer tablets that were previously used for patrol operations in fleet vehicles. They became incapable of operating our new records management system. As they are still viable for field operations, they have been reassigned to the community policing unit to run the Are You OK system, maintaining and updating local business directories, and speed sign equipment management.
Can you just take 1 second and remind the public what the Are You OK program's all about?
Sure. So the Are You OK program is a computerized telephonic system which allows us to automatically in the background, without any real need for manpower up front, to create a registry of our residents who would like to be involved in the service. Typically, it's our seniors. In fact, we just had another one added to the register Monday. And the system calls them at a set time every day to ensure that they're okay. They physically have to answer the phone. When they answer the phone, the system recognizes that it's a person speaking, and it just moves on to the next person in the registry. If for whatever reason they don't call, it'll make 2 more attempts to try and contact them. If by the 3rd attempt it can't reach a physical person at the residence, it'll send an alert to our communication staff, who will dispatch an officer for a welfare check.
That's great.
It's our way of making sure that our residents who don't have somebody who can check on them regularly, are provided that service through the PD.
And all it takes,
What year was that implemented?
That was put in 2020.
Thank you.
so the signing up for that program is a matter of calling in or going online or both?
They can do either. They
Yeah.
can go onto the website and fill out the form and send it to the PD, or come in, whatever's easiest for them.
It's a very good system.
It is. It's been helpful. Let's see. Recognizing the need to improve internet services, we recreated our website, making vast improvements on public information, links to available resources, and online public access to department records and reporting forms. The new site also provides a history of the police department since its establishment in 1971. We entered into a contract with Lexipol in 2021 to provide their knowledge management system. Their KMS offers policies, procedures, routine updates, and best practice recommendations as required by changes in federal, state, and state legislation. The program also provides daily training bulletins that cover anything from active shooter scenarios to bloodborne pathogen training available on the site, along with electronic policy delivery and tracking. With implementation of the Lexipol KMS, the department can now issue routine training bulletins to cover annual mandatory training that meets state and accreditation standards.
Excellent.
Internet technology. In 2019, we partnered with Carfax for Police to provide the public with access to accident reports online from any computer or mobile device. The program also provides officers with investigative tools such as partial plate search, VIN alerts, and vehicle history reports at no cost to the department. Providing online access frees up our communication staff from having to search and distribute reports. Thanks to our collaboration with Lexipol, since January 2021, we have been able to access their CopLogic Command Center program for free. This software provides our department with crash mapping and analytical data of all motor vehicle accidents that occur in the town of Fishkill. Investigators have access to crash report database, and anyone involved in accidents can access crash reports online. It's just another measure of us making it simpler for people to come in and get accident reports without having to come to the police station or deal with the loss of time from their job and being away from home. All that can be accessed from our website. Programs. Since the beginning of 2020, we've established several programs to engage the community. The Are You OK program, which we just discussed for seniors, operates through the police department computer system. The Special Needs Assistance Program, residents can register special needs family members in the program by providing detailed personal information, remains confidential. It will be used for officers in interactions with the public. This was specifically designed for people with autism. We have some of our residents already registered, and it works in such a way that if you have a child who is autistic and for some reason they get out of the house and they become, a missing person, the officers engage with the child. It's a good way for us to have that information so that we can have a good interaction without, we know where their sensitivities are, and we can have a positive interaction without, any raising concern for the child. And we have pictures of the children or whoever's registered in the police department, so we know what they look like when they go to search for the missing person. Let's see. Domestic violence unit, which we spoke about, the internship program. That's something that we started a few years ago. We're continuing to try and develop and improve the program. We are in the process of looking at another intern right now, but the benefit is we work collaboratively with the local colleges. We have an intern come in, they get hands-on practical training through our police agency, and it aids them in a future in law enforcement. Our drug disposal program, permanent drug take-back receptacle installed in the lobby of the PD, something that we did last year. That was in collaboration with CAPE. Dora from CAPE assisted us in getting an award through Department of Justice, which was a grant that completely paid for the drug disposal receptacle. So now residents can come 24/7 to the PD to drop off prescription drugs. Initiatives. The Department Policy and Procedure Manual revision is 72% complete. Our completion date is projected to be the end of the second quarter of 2023. Before policy revisions are complete, we'll begin pursuit of accreditation to improve effectiveness, efficiency, and professionalism, promote training, and foster public confidence. In preparation for New York State certification and accreditation, the department conducted a complete revision of department background investigation procedures. All documentation was rewritten and adopted to comply with the state certification and accreditation standards.
Chief,
Yeah.
when you give us the 71% completed, what would that be in your mind toward the accreditation? 40%, 50%? What is the weight on that?
It's hard to apply. They really have to kind of go hand in hand as you go through, but the fact that we have 71% means that we can move through on accreditation till we get caught up, and by the time we get caught up, we'll have the other 29% complete. So it's not going to slow us down moving forward with accreditation. We will get there.
So you're saying that 71% will be applicable for the accreditation, or is that a lesser number? I
It
wanna
is.
make
It's
sure.
applicable towards accreditation.
So everything that you're doing with the rules and regulations is geared to do the accreditation at the same, right after?
We could start it right now. We are starting it now.
And we'll already have those policies in place?
Yes.
Very good.
A real quick question on the background checks for our candidates to become a police officer. It's a lot, just so the public knows, it's extremely thorough now. I mean, there's a lot of time taken, there's a lot of investigation, there's a lot of questions asked on neighbors and et cetera, et cetera. So when our citizens know there's a candidate here, that's an extremely thorough background check, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So we began rewriting the background investigation policy and procedures last year. We did that ahead of the New York State Professional Policing Act coming out. We were very fortunate. We didn't foresee it coming, but we knew it was a revision that we had to make. We did a complete overhaul of our procedure. When the Professional Policing Act came out, we already had it implemented and we were ready to roll. So just the fact that we revised everything, we now meet state certification and accreditation standards. Let's see. Training. One of our goals for 2023 is to create a standardized training schedule that covers all mandatory criteria. We recognize the need to have some officers trained and certified as instructors to provide in-service training to our membership. Our administrative lieutenant has been designated as department training officer and has been doing a great job getting all of these courses scheduled. All of the trainings listed will be offered to outside agencies. The benefit to hosting training courses is that TFPD receives no-cost training for our membership, saving the town thousands in training fees. All members of the command staff are offered FBI law enforcement executive training, a 3-part series designed to advance the science and art of law enforcement leadership and promote the exchange of information to improve law enforcement management practices through training, education, and networking among police professionals across the United States and beyond. All of our command staff are in various stages of the training. The Town of Fishkill Police Department recognizes the importance of community policing and engagement. We understand that proactive problem-solving is designed to engage the community and develop solutions to their public safety issues. To that end, our community policing unit continues to offer seminars and training to children, teens, seniors, residents, and local businesses of the town and village of Fishkill in school security, internet safety, telephone scams, fraud, identity theft, and active shooter response for civilians. These are all ongoing courses provided by our community policing unit. Community policing events. We're fortunate to work in a community that fully supports its police department. The generosity of our residents during the Toys for Tots collection event last year was overwhelming. We were able to distribute toys to over 100 families. Holiday events hosted by the Town Recreation Department are always hugely successful, and we're proud to be invited to participate with them each year. National Night Out is a national community building campaign that promotes police-community partnerships. Last August, the police department held our first NNO. We hope to make it an annual event. With assistance from the Recreation Department, Building and Grounds, and support of the town board, the event exceeded our expectations. Blodgett Memorial Library graciously hosts Coffee with a Cop and invites our officers to attend every year. This year, they hosted the first Adopt a Cop event, during which all of the police officers from the town and village of Fishkill PDs were adopted by neighborhood kids. Many local families had attended the event, which was held in the conference room at our police department. We had a great turnout and saw many smiling faces. Grants and revenue. Last year, we applied for a federal body armor grant to help subsidize the cost of replacing our officers' expired body armor. We recently received notice that the grant was awarded in the amount of $10,450. Several years ago, we received a similar federal grant to replace body-worn vests. Surplus vests from that era were inventoried and sent to the Ukraine to assist in relief efforts. That was a project that was spearheaded by the administrative lieutenant. Each year, we apply for a grant to reimburse the portion of the cost of our Lexipol knowledge management system. That's the system that provides us with policies and procedures. For the last 3 years, we have received a total of $6,853 to help with those costs. In 2021, we applied for and were awarded $1,610 from the National Rifle Association to purchase AR-15 rifles for our patrol division. Drug disposal program. Last year, we worked with DORA, as I said before. We worked with DORA from Cape to acquire a drug disposal receptacle through a grant from the Department of Justice. It's now located in the lobby of the PD, available 24/7 to accept the disposing of prescription drugs. Evolving New York State law. In 2018, New York State signed new legislation raising the age of criminal responsibility to 18 years of age. The reason I'm showing this is just to show you some of the changes in the law that have occurred in the last 4 years and to give you an idea of some of the challenges that we experienced due to the changes in the law. January of 2020, criminal justice reform went into effect, removing cash bail and pretrial detention for most misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. The biggest change to discovery is that prosecutors must now automatically hand over relevant information in 20 calendar days. In June of 2020, the governor signed an executive order to reinvent and modernize police strategies and programs, requiring every police department in New York State to develop a reform plan with community input. In March of 2021, the town board adopted the police reform plan developed by the Town of Fishkill Police Department in cooperation with the Police Advisory Council. The red flag law went into effect in August of 2019, also known as the Extreme Risk Protection Order Law. Allows law enforcement officials authority to file a petition to the court to seize the guns of people that the court finds are dangerous to themselves or others. In July of 2022, the governor signed state law into effect expanding ERPO requirements for all law enforcement agencies in New York State. The new law now requires law enforcement to file for an ERPO upon receiving information that shows there is probable cause to believe that an individual is likely to engage in conduct that would result in serious harm to himself, herself, or others. In April of 2021...
Can I ask you right there, just real quickly without getting bogged down, but I mean, how discretionary is that? That just feels like it gives so much power to people to take someone's guns away, though I know that there are those people that need them taken away, but, I mean, that's just such a gray area right there.
With the new requirement that came out last year, it takes all of the discretion away. So it's mandatory. If it's a credible threat, then we have to file for the ERPO. Now, there's multiple steps to get that order issued by the court, and that's it's a lot of work by the police department. It's a lot of manpower to deal with, but we're taking taking it extremely seriously, and we're moving forward with it. Once someone meets that criteria, it's out of our hands. We have to apply to file for an ERPO.
So the anonymous person just can't call the Fishkill PD and say, some guy's got a gun and I think he's a threat.
They can, and we'll investigate it. And
So
if-
you will investigate an anonymous?
We will.
Under this, what is it, ERPO?
Yes. If a call comes in that someone is a threat to themselves or someone else, we'll dispatch officers, they'll investigate it. If they determine that it's a credible threat, then we are required by law to file for an ERPO.
Okay.
Let's see. In April of 2021, New York State Professional Policing Act was signed into law, effectuating revisions and updates to numerous statutes in relation to the policing profession. The new law established minimum hiring standards, codified requirements relating to background investigations, including search of the Central State Registry of Police Officers and the National Decertification Index. So basically what the Professional Policing Act did was it raised the standards for hiring. It now requires every agency in New York State to meet certain standards before you can approve a police officer candidate for hiring.
That's a good thing, right?
It's a good thing. Effective December 2022, New York State raised the lower age of legal jurisdiction for juvenile delinquency by changing it from the age of 7 to the age of 12. That was just a recent amendment. Ever-evolving changes to New York State law have presented challenges to all law enforcement agencies in New York State. Every change in the law requires agencies to update policies and procedure and be sure it is disseminated and reviewed by all officers, as well as provide training. Let's see. On behalf of the Town of Fishkill Police Department, I'd like to thank the supervisor, the town board, and all of the residents of the Town of Fishkill for taking the time and attention allowing me to provide this presentation to you this evening.
Good job, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for the chief?
I have about 20, just
All
kidding.
right. We'll see you tomorrow. Anybody over
Carmine's
here?
looking at me. No.
Anybody from the audience?
I have one.
Louise?
Chief, for the SRO, the school resource officer, it's not a full-time one. It's somebody that's part-time in the school for a couple hours a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, ideally, we've received reimbursement through the grant for 20 hours per week. So what we want to do is assign one officer. That officer will have complete buy-in. They'll get to know the kids, the parents, the staff at the school, and they'll all get to know him. They'll be comfortable with him. They'll see him there every day, Monday through Friday. It's going to be 4 hours a day. Typically, we'll probably assign him to the morning hours when they're coming to school, so they'll see him, and he'll greet them every day when they come in.
Are they assigned now? This was from last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, we just received the executed IMA, and we're ready to move forward. We're just waiting for our staffing to reach a limit where we have the body to put into the program.
Again, will be a dedicated officer for that program.
It'll be a dedicated officer.
Chief, the snow procedure, our winter procedures, have you seen, I've seen a lot of cars parking on the roads that shouldn't be parking during the snow time hours. Have you noticed any of that yourself?
So our midnight patrol is always aware of that. If they see the cars parked, typically the first month, we'll give them warnings just to give them an opportunity to make whatever adjustments they need to prepare for the winter. Then after that, we'll start issuing local ordinances. But if the highway department has a problem with a car parked on the side of the road, they can call us anytime and we'll assist in getting the vehicle removed immediately.